All right, Charlie, here is your Chapter 3 assignment. So when you go into Google Classroom, open this. It will just change the title to put your name at the beginning. You don't need to make a copy or anything. When you click on the link, it will be your copy, and you can just start working on the assignment. The first thing well, obviously you're watching this video, so you managed to get to the link, but you could I'll link the video in the document right here. And then each question is going to require you to use Desmos to graph your function. So you're going to want to make sure you have Desmos open in another tab. So I've linked it there so you can open it. Okay. And then all of your answers can be typed here. I've tried to minimize the amount of actual algebra that you're doing in this assignment. I know you did a lot of that in the homework already. So you don't have to type out too many equations here. It's more like copying graphs and answering questions about them. So your very first question is just a very straightforward graph. So you're going to go into Desmos and you're going to type in this function. I'm going to show you how to do the questions, but I'm going to type in a different function just so I'm not giving you exactly the answers. So I'm going to do y equals, let's say 3, I'll do negative 3x squared plus 10x minus 4. Okay? So there's my graph. Okay? And I'm just going to move it around and zoom in on it a little bit just so I'm getting the picture that I want. And then it says, label the following key points. And the first thing is the zeros. Now, this is going to require a little bit more work than just clicking on the zeros. Obviously, that's a 0 right there. But I want you to actually label that point, which means that you have to add a new box here. So you just click on this. And then the coordinates are 0.4560. So you're going to go 0.456, what was it, 465. 0. And then you're going to check the box that says label, and then because that's one of your zeros, you're going to type 0 in there. And then you'll see right down here, it added a label. Okay? And then my other 0 over here, I would figure out the coordinates of that, and I would do the exact same thing, label it 0. And then the other key points, so you've got the zeros, the coordinates of the vertex, and whether it's a maximum or minimum. So for mine, the vertex is obviously this point right here. So I'm going to label this point 1.677. And then 4.333. 4.333, and then I'm going to check label, and then here is where I'm going to say whether it's a maximum or a minimum. So on my parabola, this is the highest point, so I would just label it as max for maximum. Okay, and then the last key thing you're supposed to add, so the y-intercept, that's just another point. I trust you can locate it and then just add a label the same way I just showed you. The last one, though, is the axis of symmetry, which isn't just a point, it's actually a whole vertical line. So we know that the axis of symmetry passes through the vertex, and it's a line that divides the whole parabola in half. So to get a vertical line like that, I'm going to type x equals, and then I just use the x coordinate of the vertex. Okay, and you'll see it added that vertical line for me. And you don't need to label that one. I'll know that the vertical line is your axis of symmetry. Okay, so that's it for those first 4 things. Okay, and then it says copy your label graph into this box. So to copy the graph, a couple options. Tons of different ways to copy a picture from your computer screen into the document. One, you can click this share graph, and then it'll give you the option of exporting the image. So if you click that, it will do that, and then you can download the PNG, or you can download it as Actually, I would download as a PNG. And then it'll go to your downloads folder, and you can go in to here and you can click insert image, upload from computer, and then go to wherever it downloaded to, insert it that way. The other way, especially if you're working on a tablet, I'm not sure what kind of device you have, you might want to take a screen cap. So I'm working on a MacBook. The one way to take a screen cap is to hit Command-Shift-4, and then it calls up this little cursor, and then I can just sort of select the part of the screen that I want. Okay, and it might save it to your photos, or it might save it to your desktop, or I'm not sure. The way mine works, it saves to my desktop. So if I want to insert image, I would go upload from computer, desktop, most recent thing. My only request, if you're using screen caps to do this, is to just, if you have all these like extra bars and things in the picture that you don't need, just please crop them out so that you're focusing in on the graph. Okay, so make sure you include the labels for the axes, and all the labels that you added need to be there, but everything else should be cropped out so that it looks kind of nice and tidy. Okay, so that if you had something that looked like that, obviously you need a couple more labels on yours, but that would be great. Okay, and however you want to get the image in there, I don't care if you take screen caps or if you export the image from Desmos, whatever works. Okay, and then there's a few more questions analyzing this graph. Write the equation of f at x in vertex form, which looks like this. I've reminded you what vertex form looks like, in the box below. Okay, so you now know the coordinates of the vertex because you figured them out and labeled them. And you can see the a value is given already. That's the first number in your graph. So you're going to use those coordinates of the vertex and the a value that you can see right here to fill in this function. I think the easiest way to do that, rather than having to type everything out fresh, is just copy what I've given you. So highlight it and hit Control-C or Command-C if you're using a Mac, and then paste it. And then just change the parameters, so the letters, to the appropriate thing. So say the coordinates of my vertex were -1, so then this would end up being +1, and 7, so it would look like that, and then the a value you can pull out of your original equation. So my original a value was 3, or -3. Okay? That's what that would look like. And then which key points can be identified from vertex form? Hopefully that's a pretty easy question for you. How can you tell if the graph has a maximum or minimum value from the equation, from the graph? Again, that's stuff you covered in your homework. Hopefully you can just give me a quick answer to that in a sentence, write it in the box right there. And then write the equation in factored form, which looks, let me just change this because I forgot to change it earlier. X minus R times X minus S. So that's factored form right there in the box below. So again, this is the one, hopefully you remember, it uses the zeros. So the a value always stays the same, but then this uses the zeros. You can type it out fresh, or you can do what I showed you with the vertex form. You can copy what I wrote right here and then paste it and just swap out the letters, the R and the S and the A for numbers. And then which key points can be identified from factored form? I kind of just gave you the answer. Hopefully you were listening. Okay, that was question 1. Question number 2 will be on the second page, or if you filled in question 1, it might move on to the third page. A company models its profit based on the selling price of their product. They end up with the following equation for their model. Okay, where P at S represents the profit and S is the selling price. Now you're going to be graphing this in Desmos. Just treat this part as Y and this part as X. Okay, that you don't worry about the P and the S when you're graphing it in Desmos. Graph the function, label the zeros and vertex, copy your graph below. So this is very similar to what you did in question number 1. I'm not going to show you how to do it again. What does break-even point mean in the context of a profit function? So that was something covered in the textbook. You're welcome to go back and review it. You don't have to complete this like a test. You're welcome to look stuff up. And then, so you want to describe what a break-even point means, and then you want to give the break-even points for this function. You should be able to read those off the graph once you've made it. What is the maximum profit this company can earn, and what selling price gives this profit? So again, those are values you should be able to take from your graph. And then one sort of conceptual question, why doesn't profit continue to increase as selling price increases? So try to give, this is worth 2 marks, so try to give a thoughtful answer for that. Okay. And then question number 3, this is the reason that you're getting this assignment so late. It took me a long time to get this set up for you. So this is a question about projectile motion, and rather than making your own graph, I've actually linked you to a graph that you're going to use where I've already superimposed a picture on it. So this is a time lapse of a snowboarder jumping. Okay? And it has these sliders so you can change the values of the parameters in it. So that one changes the A value, okay? And then this one changes the H value, and this one changes the K value. Actually, set these ones to 0. Okay, so you can move those around. So your first task with this question, use the sliders on the graph to get the parabola to match the path of the jump as best you can. Okay, so you're probably not going to get a perfect match for this, but you can see that the snowboarder, the time lapse of his jump follows like a parabolic shape. You're going to move the sliders around until this red parabola matches the path as best as you can get it to. It's not going to be perfect. You don't need to spend like 30 minutes getting them to exact values, but just do your best to approximate this shape by moving the sliders around. And then once you've done that, I want you to copy the graph into the assignment so I can see. Okay, and then on this graph, you can read the values of A, H, and K. So once you have the sliders set to the position you want them, you actually have numbers for A, H, and K. I want you to use those to write the equation for that parabola. Okay, and then you're just going to look at the graph and you're going to answer these last couple questions. How far in the X direction did the snowboarder jump? So that means like how far horizontally. What was the highest point? How much higher was the takeoff point than the landing point? So we can see here in the picture, the snowboarder takes off kind of like at the top of one of these slopes, as would make sense for snowboarding, but then lands lower down. So I just want you to tell me how big that difference is. Okay. And now I realize that the perspective here means that that's probably not like a perfect measure in meters. I want you to just read the values from the graph and figure it out, even though we both know it doesn't perfectly match real life because of the angle. And then is the axis of symmetry in the middle of the jump? Explain. Okay, so just a couple quick questions. Not a ton of typing out equations in this. This is how you'll be marked, and you can see what each question is worth here. Okay, and I hope that this goes pretty smoothly for you. It's intended to. If you have any issues, though, please don't hesitate to send me an email, and I look forward to seeing your work. I'm going to have this due by the end of the week, and then we'll start on a new chapter on Monday. Thanks, Charlie. Have a good one.